Salutations, ghouls and freaks. Welcome to this podcast, The Storm, where insane slashers, undead blood drinkers, and all around crooked beans convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the Mage of Madness, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, everyone.
And I am your host / Scarecrow Imposter, the Brainstormer of pop culture. Sorry, I had to sniff. My nose is killing me today. I might have come down with a sudden cold. Anyway, yeah. Full disclosure, this might be a sort of short stream simply because we might not have a lot to talk about.
We have 3 topics, but the 3 topics we do have might take a while, or they might not, depending. So who knows?
Hope everyone's having a very great October so far, and days are ticking down to Halloween. I do feel like we should make the announcement now, because we only have like 2 weeks left, I believe.
Yeah, Sunday. This year Halloween falls on a Sunday, but we can't do the show on that Sunday because we have Halloween-related shenanigans to be doing. So we're going to do the final Halloween show of this year on the Saturday before Halloween, which would be the 30th.
Yeah, October 30th, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, Dylan will be doing his occultist stuff, I assume, and I will be doing the normie thing and be a guy handing out candy and also scaring the hell out of a lot of youngsters that come my way.
I haven't found anything to do magically this year. It's kind of like this October has really harshed my Halloween mojo. If I'm entirely honest, like because a lot of the stuff that I would normally watch because Halloween theming isn't available on all the streaming services that we have, and I've looked through three different streaming services that we have, which are Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, and it's nigh impossible to find Halloween themed shit. And also, I haven't found a ritual to do yet, so I'm kind of annoyed, especially because this is the first Halloween since I, stupidly offered my blood to Mab. So technically, I guess I'm sort of on the clock, and every time I find myself doing things that aren't Halloween related, I find myself thinking, she's watching somewhere and pissed off at me because I'm not doing Halloween even as much as I normally do this year. And that bothers me. Because it's one thing to not do Halloween shit just when you're not in the mood, but it's another thing when you don't do Halloween shit even though you normally would do Halloween shit and you're on the clock and the Queen of freaking Air and Darkness might or might not be breathing down your neck from the shadows somewhere. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. That does remind me. I need to get pumpkins ready. Probably next week, actually, because I feel like if I get them now, it's gonna be.
Yeah, they'll be non-presentable by showtime.
Yeah. Which actually might add to the creepy factor, but
yeah, which is the other thing. A lot of the Halloween stuff I do have access to, it doesn't quite feel right to be doing until 1 or 2 weeks out from showtime. So it's like,
Mm.
have to
Uh,
have to do something because it's October, but also can't because it doesn't feel Halloweenish enough yet.
yeah. Anyway, this is one. Well, Dawn sent me pretty much everything this week. It's from RottenTomatoes.com or editorial.rottentomatoes.com. 31 classic Halloween TV specials by Fred Topple. This is published October 16th, 2018.
It kind of amazes me we didn't do this a couple years ago when we first started this, but I think back then we were doing still kind of the soliloquy thing more and not doing as many articles for the Halloween season.
Yeah,
So
I think
that
so.
makes sense.
Anyway, yeah, get back in touch with your inner trick-or-treater with these specials starring Buzz and Woody, Charlie Brown, Garfield, Elvira, and even the Grinch.
I normally, at least, have no problem getting in touch with my inner trick-or-treater. Halloween is my season, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least it normally is when I have all the things, but yeah.
Oh. Halloween night. No, sorry, Halloween might not fall until the end of October, but the most fervent, fervent,
Fervent.
fervent fans of the horror holiday start celebrating the minute the calendar turns to October 1st. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, again, and not to get too far afield here, but that's how it's always supposed to have been celebrated. This whole holidays last one day out of an entire calendar month thing is entirely a modern invention. Old school, like pre-Christian holidays last for weeks usually. So yeah.
Yeah. Or even before. Hey, if you can buy a pumpkin spice latte, then the spooky season has begun. Okay,
Uh, I draw the line before I draw the line before the end of September. Like I just can't get into Halloween mode until October 1st.
yeah. God.
Although I usually do extend it out a few days afterwards because of course you've got All Saints Day and then Day of the Dead and then, you know, Guy Fawkes Day. So even the first week in November is still fair game usually for me, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. New horror releases hit the big screen throughout the month. Uh, obviously referring to 2018. But you can still find even more screen-worthy programming on the small screen. What better way to gear up for trick-or-treating than a marathon of scary creatures, horror specials, and other Halloween-centric TV programming available to stream online or hunt down on YouTube.
Fair play. And speaking of that, I might actually just have to buy or rent Trick or Treat off of YouTube this year because I can't find it anywhere for free
Uh,
normally.
yeah. I'm more surprised you don't have a DVD of it or something.
I keep thinking about asking for it for Christmas, but it always seems weird to ask for a Halloween movie for Christmas. So
Why not ask it for
I
your birthday?
because that's the middle of July, which seems even weirder. Um, so I either have to buy it myself over the course of like October or find it somewhere else. And up until this year, when we decided to switch from cable to streaming services, I didn't have a problem finding it. But unforeseen consequences of switching to streaming, folks.
Yeah.
Make sure your favorite movies are on your favorite streaming services, or else you might find yourself holding the metaphorical bag.
Right. Uh, and other Halloween-centric TV programming available to stream. Or it's that. Sorry. Oh, my nose is itchy right now. Rotten Tomatoes has rounded up 31 Halloween specials so you can watch one daily or stockpile them for a Halloween night marathon.
I mean, probably somewhere in the middle. I tend to watch like at least 2 or 3 Halloween themed things when I can find them. throughout the month, and then just binge watch a bunch on Halloween.
Okay, so 31, number 31, Raggedy Ann and Andy in the Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile, 1979. I've never heard of this one.
Yeah, this is the first I knew that this is like I knew that Reggie Ann and Andy existed. That's a old cartoon from like the 70s or something, but I didn't realize they had a Halloween special,
Hmm.
and I've never seen it.
What made it special back in the 70s? Every popular children's character got their own special. So you'll see a lot on this list. In this one, a staple of Disney Channel's annual Halloween rotation, Raggedy Ann and Andy's neighbor Ralph had a mean aunt who wouldn't let him go trick or treating, so they found the perfect pumpkin to make him happy.
I I call bullshit on this being part of Disney Channel's annual rotation because I grew up on basically every show or every channel's Halloween centric rotation come October, and I've never seen this.
Mhm. Um, Number 30, Scared Shrekless, 2010. I remember this one.
I know it exists. I've never seen it. I I kind of hate that they force Shrek into situations that don't really fit him, and it's not because I don't think they could make a Halloween thing with Shrek. I just think if you're gonna do it, commit to it. If you're not, then don't half-ass it, kind of thing.
Mhm. What made it special?
Hmm.
Shrek had already been in four movies by 2010, along with a Christmas special, Shrek the Halls. Never seen that one. In the Ogre's Halloween outing, Shrek, Donkey, Puss in Boots, and their fairy tale friends tell three scary stories with commercial breaks in between them. Yeah, it was like a horror anthology kind of thing.
Hmm.
Nice.
And again, my main problem with sticking Shrek in holiday stuff, whether it's Christmas or Halloween or whatever, it's if you're gonna do it, then do it in universe. If you're not gonna do it, then don't half-ass it.
Mm-hmm. 29, Pac-Man Halloween Special, 1982.
I remember that the Pac-Man show existed. I did not know it had a Halloween special, although I guess I should have guessed.
I only remember that one from Disney XD, the CGI one.
Uh, yeah, but no, I think this one is the one from the 80s that was
Yeah, no,
uh
like that.
hit.
Yeah, it is. I just didn't know.
Yeah, I only remember seeing this show like maybe twice on Boomerang because I had Boomerang growing up and it was awesome. Um, I didn't. I love a lot of classic shows, but this one never grabbed me, so that would explain why I've only seen like two or three episodes of it.
Um, Especially even before Donkey Kong and Mario, Pac-Man was the first video game celebrity complete with his own Saturday morning cartoon show. In 1989, the character got a ABC primetime Halloween special that still airs on Cartoon Network and Boomerang today. Two animated stories include Pacula, about a Pac vampire, and Trick or Chomp, which has the ghost interrupting the Pac family's trick or treating.
This one makes sense because I mean ghosts are a key feature of Pac-Man, so if any franchise lends itself to Halloween theming, it would be Pac-Man.
Okay, Fat Albert Halloween special. And I've never really seen the Fat Albert besides that movie.
Yeah, I know of the show and I know that the movie was loosely based on the show or was one of those the character comes into the real world type shows, but
It,
or
it,
movies. But
it was the latter.
yeah. But I apart from like one parody of Fat Albert that I saw on the Fairly Odd Parents episode Channel Chasers, where they were doing a lot of different like classic cartoon parodies. Um, I have no point of reference for Fat Albert other than the movie.
Yeah. The gang from the '70s cartoon got its own primetime special where they skip the go right to the trick by scaring their neighbors.
Okay, but why? That seems like a really bad summation.
Um, Number 27, Flintstones meet Rockula and Frankenstone, 1979.
This one I'll give you because this one I have seen, and honestly, I'm not surprised that the Flintstones had one. The Flintstones were pretty big back in the day.
Yeah. Flintstones never met a Stone Age pun they didn't like, and in this hour-long NBC special, Dracula and Frankenstein get the punny treatment. Dracula awakens to complete his Frankenstone monster, and only the Flintstones and rebels can stop them. This special has been sold on VHS, Laserdisc, and DVD.
Hmm.
Remember when
I'm
Laserdisc was a
I,
thing?
I'm sure it still shows up on Boomerang every great now and again as well, probably. Yeah, Laserdisc was fairly short-lived. Was for like a very brief point in like the 90s. They were trying to they were basically the establishment proposal for we don't want to be DVDs, so let's give an alternative to them.
Ugh.
I hear conflicting things about Laserdisc. A lot of people have told me that they're better than DVDs in a lot of ways, but I haven't seen enough things on Laserdisc to judge whether they're better than DVDs. Wouldn't surprise me if they were though, because sometimes the stupid latecomer one is the one that ends up getting famous. Next.
Yeah, I don't know what the name is because there's not one here.
Dear Rotten Tomatoes, you are a you're a world-renowned site. Can you please, if you're going to produce articles, make sure that your articles have freaking names
Yeah.
and are edited properly?
Uh, Animator Will Vinton had previously done the California Raisins commercials and music videos, plus animation for Michael Jackson's Captain EO attraction and Disney's Return to Oz. This claymation Halloween specials animation won him an Emmy.
Okay, but what's it called though?
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Um, uh, I guess Claymation Comedy of Horrors.
Okay.
It's the only one that's showing up.
That's it. It's weird that they didn't just have that title then.
Yeah. Or like
I guess it's back to one of our oldest rejoinders of get a freaking editor, you
or
allegedly professional articles, you.
and not all of them have images, so you can't even tell like what they're talking about, like an image of what they're talking about. Some have trailers, some don't. It's weird.
That's really stupid.
Yeah.
Get an editor, guys. Get an editor. Or if not, then like either if you're gonna make a list like this, put some elbow grease into it, or if you're not, then just don't. Moving on.
Number 25, Casper Saves Halloween, 1979.
I mean, it's Casper, so Halloween is to Casper. It's similar to Scooby Doo. It's sort of like they belong to this. They belong in this time period and at this, in this particular holiday. So it works.
Oh. When your whole thing is being a friendly ghost, you've got to do something special for Halloween. It's the one night of the year when Casper can dress up as a werewolf boy, and he makes friends with some orphans who accept him for what he is.
Yay.
I still remember that the animated series that they had.
Yeah, wasn't it Casper's Scare School or something along those lines?
Yeah.
My two big points of reference are the 1995 movie and the direct to video Christmas movie from like 2003-ish, I think. That first introduced or at least from what I remember, first introduced Kabosh.
Right. Oh, sorry. Number 24, Under Wraps, 1997. This was the very first Disney Channel movie for Halloween, so it's the one that started it all. Three 12-year-olds accidentally bring a mummy back to life, and try to keep it under wraps. Get it? They're doing a remake of this.
Yeah, I couldn't tell whether they were just advertising like the old one again or if they were doing literally a remake. It kind of annoys me that they're doing a remake. Not gonna lie, I loved the old one.
I won't lie. And it's complicated for me because it's not even like the gripe of the remake itself that is my issue with it. Um,
It's like, why would you when the old one still works and has
no,
been a classic for 20 years?
no, that's not it.
Hmm.
Um, it's sorry.
Your nose being distracting again?
Yeah. It's more so that it looks as cheaply made, like a lot of Disney Channel movies these days. It doesn't look like a legit movie like the original did, or like some of the older Disney Channel.
Yeah, I've noticed this too. Like,
It's
may
better quality, right?
like I know it's inevitable that we get rose-colored glasses about how cheaply made our, the ones we grew up with were, but like objectively looking at, for example, as a comparison, back when I was in middle school, the Disney Channel original movie craze for a good number of years was the High School Musical movies. Now the closest thing to them is Descendants, and I've rewatched the High School Musical movies compared to the Descendants movies, and even allowing for it's a made-for-TV movie, even allowing for it's Disney Channel, even allowing for they don't really care about kids, yada yada yada, even allowing for all that cynical bullshit, um, Descendants looks visibly and noticeably cheaper than High School Musical did. Um, and again, I know it's inevitable that we'd get rose-tinted glasses and yada yada yada, but modern day Disney Channel original movies, even just objectively, look cheaper and shitter than the ones made in the 90s and 2000s did. Like, I still to this day will occasionally watch
Uh,
um like The 13th Year or Luck of the Irish. I watch that pretty much every year around St. Patrick's Day. Um and they still hold up pretty well as far as the Disney
I,
Channel original
I
movies
have
go. But
I have a thing to say. Like this is like get your drinks ready, folks. This is it's been a while since I've done this, but
he's getting the director's beret. Everyone run!
I'm not wearing a fucking beret. I'm not French, and I'm not a twat.
it's it's a reference to old school like director
I
aesthetic,
know, but
is what it's doing.
I'm gonna wear a hat, like a skull cap or something that says director on it. Like I might actually try to get one of those.
I if it were up to me, I probably would. For the sake of just the meme, I would probably switch to a beret. But I generally like berets. Berets are cool.
I don't. I think it's just because a lot of hoity-toity people wear them. Anyway, what was I? I was saying something.
I guess I can't. I guess I can't entirely disagree with you there because I think I might be one of those people. But never mind.
Right.
Um,
I don't know, like okay, so I would like get still images from one Disney Channel movie made like in the 10,000, well, mid 20,000, mid 2010s to one that was made like I don't know, maybe like the Minutemen or High School Musical or Under Wraps, like the original one compared to like the new one.
yeah, even some of the like random one-off Disney Channel original movies look better than the modern day like big draw ones.
Right, right.
Like,
And I have a this is just something I noticed for like the clips and trailers I've seen of like the new ones compared to like the old ones. Like even from like
mhm.
maybe like the early 2010s were still good. You know, like Girl versus Monster and things like that.
That one I don't think I saw. I might have to look at. I do have Disney Plus now, so I can actually look at
Yeah.
those. But
Um,
yeah,
it's just like I don't know if it's the camera or it's the lighting of the movie itself that is the problem because I don't know why, but even like a movie like those zombie movies, you know what I'm talking about? Those musical zombie movie high school ones.
yeah. I've seen those.
Um, that doesn't really seem to be. There's no there's no shadows. You know, it's very lit like a Disney sitcom.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and this is where my drinking game starts. But it seems very much like as with most things in movie making these days, the delineation was effort. Um, because even in the context of the Disney Channel originals, the ones from like the 90s and 2000s, even though they were made on the cheap, and they were, and even though they were made for, lowest common denominator kids audience, a lot of the people who made those at least put some like at least the people making it were like trying to have fun while they were making it. Like the other day, and this is because Halloween theme, but I rewatched a movie from when I was a kid, a Disney Channel original movie from when I was a kid called Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. Um, and I noticed while I was watching it, um, a bunch of little nods and references to old school Hammer horror vampire movies, and in particular to Dracula. Like the one restaurant they go to is called Renfield's, and I never noticed that when I was a kid, but because since then I've read the original Bram Stoker Dracula, I noticed the joke, and it was like, oh hey, that's a little joke that would probably either go right over kids' heads or they would notice because they're a bunch of monster geeks. And that's the difference. It seems like even back in the day, even though everyone was aware they were making movies on the cheap, and even so, they wanted to make a movie that they could at least put their hand at their heart and say, "Yes, I'm proud I made that." Whereas now, it seems like all the people who feel like having fun when they make these movies have gotten bitter and cynical and don't even bother putting in the effort anymore. Which is why, even though you have the excellent um, as an example for Descendants. Even though you have the excellent Kristen Chenoweth playing Maleficent, she looks cheaper than even like the Disney cosplay Maleficents they have at the parks now. Whereas before, if a character like that shows up, it's gonna look at least on par with something out of Once Upon a Time, maybe, because they put in the effort. And they don't put in the effort anymore. Once again, why does modern day Hollywood have such an allergy to effort? It's really not that hard. Anyway, I'm rambling. Moving on. Unless Brainstormer left again,
I'm here. I was just
muted and dealing with your nose.
yeah. Number 23, The Halloween Tree, 1993.
I'm pretty sure I've heard of this one, and I might have seen it once, but I don't know much about it.
Neither do I.
I'm probably if this is something I've seen, I'm probably gonna remember as soon as you start describing it. But for
Uh,
now, it doesn't seem too familiar.
this animated TV movie was Ray Bradbury for kids. Bradbury narrated the tale of children traveling the world to learn about different celebrations that influence Halloween. Also featuring the voice of Leonard Nimoy. It won an Emmy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I have seen this.
It used to air on Cartoon Network.
I'm pretty sure it did because I remember seeing it at least once. Um, it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but I mean, as far as like educational kids content goes, it's
Uh,
fine.
oh God. Sorry. Number 22. Michael Jackson's Halloween, 2017.
I I've never seen this. I didn't realize there was one. I know his Thriller music video is like a Halloween staple because everyone listens to Thriller around Halloween, but
Okay, so description. Years after his death, this CBS special gave the King of Pop a chance to sing again. Uh, the star-studded musical special featured an animated Jackson with his actual voice and 28 classic Jackson songs, and was made in collaboration from Jackson's estate. More than 5.6 million people watched on CBS when it aired. I don't.
I've never seen this. I'm glad that it exists though because good for Michael. Um, I hope they use Thriller because that's his contribution to like Halloween song literature.
Yeah. Okay. What? Halloween on Ice, 1995. 1 year after her Olympic silver medal win and her recovery from her attack by Tonya Hardy's goons, Nancy Kerrigan led a Halloween-themed figure skating show at the Boston Garden featuring skating routines inspired by Dracula, Frankenstein, and other creatures. It aired on NBC, and then Kerrigan continued to perform the live show through 2015.
I wish I had seen this. This sounds like something that I would enjoy, but I have not seen this.
I didn't even know it existed until now.
Yeah, I had no idea either, but I might have to look it up on YouTube now.
Okay, number 20, Gary Larson's Tales from the Far Side, 1994. Readers of the funny pages in the 80s would always look for the Far Side, a single image that would crack you up every day. Creator Larson animated Halloween special for Far Side Shorts that was released on DVD and sold out on the official Far Side website.
I didn't know that this existed either.
I Yeah, same. I don't know what.
I'm vaguely familiar with what Tales from the Far Side is, but I wasn't aware that there was a Halloween thing, and I certainly wasn't aware that it was released on DVD. I'm gonna have to look up that now. Moving forward. At least when he gets back from dealing with his fucking nose.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm still here. I just.
No, take your time and take care of your nose. I can wait, or we can wait.
Number 19, Halloween with the New Adams Family, 1977.
Okay, so they actually did do a Halloween special with the Addams Family. Well,
The
I'll be
new,
darned.
well, the New Adams Family. What made special? The Adams Family had been off the air since 1966. So this 1977 Halloween special was a welcome reunion with the original cast. Airing 14 years before the movie reboot, it's been immortalized online via fans' YouTube uploads. I might check this out actually.
Yeah, like when we got to the '90s Addams Family on the list the other week, I specifically said I want a Addams Family Halloween thing. So thank you, universe, for randomly already giving me what I want. I guess.
One moment.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for the technical health difficulties, folks. We do our best to make sure the show still goes on.
I'm
The
back.
show, okay,
Well, I mean, I didn't really leave. I just muted real
was
quick.
dealing with your nose again.
Oh, God damn it. Okay, so number 18, Twitches, 2005. And remember this. Like, okay, so we talked about it earlier, right? With like how
Hmm.
it doesn't really, where, the, people that were working on like those early Disney Channel original movies compared to like those that work on it now.
Yeah,
With Twitches, and if anyone remembers Twitches, kudos. Like I think I watched that when it first came out. That was
yeah, me too. I watched both of them when they first premiered. And yes, for those that are older than either of us, that is Tien Tamara Mori, otherwise known as the main focus of the sitcom Sister Sister, which I remember because I'm a weird old soul who likes like Nick at Night and TV Land movies or shows.
uh, but like I don't want to bring it up constantly, but like even in 2005,
They still put in more effort.
yeah, like it honestly looked like a really. It kind of looks like the TV shows they make today. Honestly,
Yeah, like even though they knew full well they didn't have the budget to do all the big CGI stunts they wanted to do, they still tried, and this is something else. They understood the notion that even if you can't do the big CGI spectacle, you can still make it aesthetically look good. Um, it's kind of like with animation, and the point I made the last time we talked about animation, like Ed, Edd n Eddy is made on the cheap animation wise, but because it has an interesting and consistent aesthetic, nobody cares.
oh,
Same
do you
thing with Courage the Cowardly Dog. Um,
I love their Halloween special, by the way.
their their Halloween special, I usually end up skipping over. Uh,
Fuck off.
Ed Ed, and Eddy was not good at holiday specials, really. Um,
I don't know. I
I,
like.
ironically, I think the actual episode of the show, Fall Ed, is better than their Christmas special. Um, because of all the shows to actually try to make like religious references, I find it a bit odd that Ed and Eddie would go there. The only with the one exception of I love in the Jingle Jingle Jangle episode Rolf's like bastardized Eastern European Christmas idea about the Yesh Mayet and everything, because I don't know if that's based on any legitimate like Eastern European folklore. I would suspect not. I expect it's just something that Danny Antonucci pulled out of his ass. But it sounds very much like something that would plausibly exist in Eastern European folklore. So well done. Um, but that's neither here nor there. In regards to switches, yeah, Tia and Tamara Mori were basically the black and better version of the Olsen twins, and their ability to play off each other really works in Twitches. I even enjoy the sequel. Twitches 2 is also pretty good. It's not as good as the first one, but very rarely is a sequel ever as good as the first one. So yeah.
Anyway, well, I mean, it's special. Sister twins, Tia and Tamara Mowry. Mowry got their own Disney Channel movie as Twin Witches, or Twitches for short. That's a sequel to Twitches 2. Okay. God, these synopses kind of suck.
Yeah, if you're going to try and explain to us why these are awesome, and in this case, I can confirm that Twitches is in fact a pretty awesome Halloween movie as far as like Disney Channel originals goes. Granted, the gold standard for Disney Channel original Halloween will always be Halloween Town, but we all know that on some level.
I
And never ever speak of the fourth one because fuck you. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay, so moving on.
Yeah.
Right, number 17, October Kiss, 2015. It's a Hallmark movie.
I didn't know this existed. The only Halloween Hallmark thing I know of is the Good Witch movies and eventually series. Although I've tried to watch a couple episodes of the Good Witch TV show. It's not as good as the movies. The movies were better.
I've never heard of that.
It's a really good series, honestly. Like basically Cassie Nightingale is one of the like
I don't know who that is.
The actress who plays her is Catherine Bell, but the character's name is Cassie Nightingale. She goes to like this very old school suburban New England town, and she brings with her a bunch of new agey witch stuff, and it makes the old school like traditionalists of the town uncomfortable because reasons, and even though she uses her knowledge of various things to help people with various things, and she appears to have some kind of like intuitive power to like detect what people's problems are and find them the right like item or artifact to help fix it. And there's like 5 different Good Witch movies because there's like Good Witch is the first one. Then Good Witch's Garden is the second one. That one's probably my favorite. Then I think Good Witch's Gift is the third one, which that one doesn't really work because it's set during Christmas and makes no fucking sense. But at least they tried. Then Good Witch's Family. I think there's one more, but I can't think of what the name of it is. But at any rate, yeah, the only Hallmark Channel original movie that I know of, or movies that I know of that's Halloween themed, is the Good Witch ones, and they're pretty good.
Okay.
But the series is not as good.
All right. What made it special? Everyone loves it. To marathon Hallmark Channel Christmas movies. But here's a Hallmark movie to try out. Don't worry, it's still about a workaholic who finds love with a carefree nanny, and it's available to watch on Netflix. Probably not anymore.
Yeah, the joke there being all the Hallmark movies are basically the fucking same. Ironically though, not as much The Good Witch. Like they're still very much obviously Hallmark movies, but they don't follow the cheesy the rom-com plot quite as much. Even though there is a dashing male character who is basically the love interest for Cassie, but
Oh God.
the focus is less on her, thank God, or on their relationship, thank God, for the most part.
Ugh.
Next.
Yeah. One sec.
Yep, no problem. Apologies once again for the dead air. We're just trying to make sure Brainstormer doesn't die here.
Number 16. Don't Look Under the Bed. 1999.
Another great Disney Channel original movie, and yes, it's awesome.
I've never seen this one.
This one I have seen quite often. It's one of those that they used to put in the Disney Channel original movie Halloween rotation a lot. It's basically a story about a young teenage girl.
I mean, it does say it here in the synopsis.
Okay, well, let's read their synopsis and then I'll try to fill in the gaps of where they fail because they probably will.
While most of the Disney Channel Halloween movies are fun, Don't Look Under the Bed actually scares kids and their parents. So much so that some parents asked Disney to stop airing it, and the network obliged.
Okay, well, fuck you, parents of children who got scared by this. Letting your children occasionally be scared is a good thing.
The synopsis, actual synopsis. In the film, a teenage girl, Erin Chambers, has to stop the boogeyman, Steve Valentine, who lives under her bed. Boogeyman makeup was a bit too intense for some, especially when the character possesses the girl's imaginary friend. Hodges.
Okay, the long and the short of Don't Look Under the Bed is in this universe, imaginary friends basically become like living beings unto themselves, and like apparently imaginary friends are kind of transmissible. Like when one child gets done with an imaginary friend, sometimes they go on to be imaginary friends of other people as well. But when an imaginary friend is neglected because their child abandons them, they turn into boogeymen. And essentially, I'm gonna kind of spoil the movie here, but um, this I think she's 16. This 16-year-old girl, she wants to be treated like an adult, and she finds all like childhood things to be annoying and stupid, and she's basically the Disney Channel original movie version of a skeptic, like a deliberate skeptic, and she dumps on imagination and childhood whimsy and shit. And so her former imaginary friend becomes a boogeyman and essentially starts harassing her. And the only way to get said boogeyman to stop harassing her is to get in touch with her childhood again. The only problem is she's a stuck up prick, and so her brother's imaginary friend, I think his name is Larry, has to convince her that her imagination is not the worst thing ever and that childhood things aren't so stupid after all. It's a pretty trippy movie, all things considered. I actually enjoy it a lot. It's right up there with Can of Worms in terms of I'm not sure what the people who made it were smoking, but I'm glad they were smoking something.
Number 15, Halloween Town, 1998.
The best one and the objectively correct one if you're going to introduce Disney Channel original movies to this list.
Yeah. What made it special? The most successful of Disney Channel Halloween movies. Halloween Town spawned a franchise that kept going into 2006's Return to Halloween Town.
We never speak of the fourth one. Don't make me have to get a scythe out. I will get a fucking scythe. I will find you.
The original that started it all introduced Marnie Piper, Kimberly J. Brown, to a world of witches, monsters, ghosts, and teenagers. Brown would star in 3 Halloween Towns through 2004's Halloween Town High.
Yeah.
Big
And
question.
again, we don't.
Okay, so I
Go
think
ahead.
mentioned before, like in the actual movies, but it's supposed to be Halloween all the time in Halloween Town.
Effectively, I guess. Well, no, it basically the idea is back in the Middle Ages when witches were being hunted and monsters were being hunted, the witches and the monsters basically created their own pocket dimension and then fucked off to it so that humans would leave them alone.
Right. Don't get sick, people.
Well,
It's
unfortunately, I don't think it's quite optional for most people, but
fair enough.
but
Ugh.
the really ironic thing about the Halloween Town movies is the line of witches that we follow throughout the Halloween Town movies are named the Cromwell line, which I'm betting is a reference to Oliver Cromwell, and that's ironic because Oliver Cromwell is the Puritan bastard who tried to outlaw Christmas and Halloween in the New World back when the colonies were still a new thing. So I kind of love the idea actually in this universe that Oliver Cromwell wasn't this like hardened Puritan bastard, or if he was faking it and he was a witch the whole time, or a warlock, I guess. Um, so yeah, the stealth sticking it to Oliver Cromwell is always appreciated from the Halloween Town movies.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. Sorry. Number 14, Double Double, Toil and Trouble, 1993.
Again, the Olsen twins. I don't like I can't speak to this movie because I don't know about it, but the Olsen twins were always kind of annoying, so I'm betting that I wouldn't enjoy it.
The Olsen twins, Mary Kate and Ashley, were the queens of 90s children's movies. Minnie went straight to video, but the sisters' Halloween movie. And once they tried, used their mean aunt Agatha's Cloris Leachman witch magic to save the family, aired on TV.
Okay, so I have to make this reference now. If their aunt's name was Agatha, then it was literally Agatha all along. Sorry, complete sidebar, non sequitur. Don't die, Brainstormer.
Ah. I need to take a hot shower or something to help with my sinuses.
Would blowing your nose help?
I've already done that like 10 times.
Okay, it's one of those. All right.
Granted, I still think I'm in like the early days of being sick, so it's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Aha.
Oh, god damn it. Alright, number 13, Halloween is Grinch Night, 1977. Never heard of this one.
Oh, it's one of those Dr. Seuss direct to video animated ones. Apparently, Dr. Seuss decided that one of the reasons that the Grinch hates Christmas so much is because it's the opposite of Halloween, and therefore he loves Halloween. Which I could sort of understand it, but I'm in the camp of why can't we just love both of them?
Well, I honestly, that's why I kind of like Jim Carrey's The Grinch movie, because it does seem like to be a legit reason why he doesn't like Christmas. Granted, it's more of a misplaced anger towards like the people of Whoville more than
Yeah, it's
Christmas itself.
yeah, yet again, it's the fucked up quasi suburbanite bullshit that fucked everything up.
Yeah, what not surprise. Anyway, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was such a Christmas classic that the Grinch tried to get in on ruining other holidays too. There's been much speculation whether this is a prequel or a sequel to Stole Christmas. It would have to be a prequel since it's before Grinch's heart grew three sizes, right? This Emmy-winning special reran through the early '80s and was eventually released on video.
I don't think he's trying to ruin Halloween though. I think he's just enjoying himself with it.
Oh, and I've never seen it, so I can't really call it.
In most of the special, he's just kind of excited because on Halloween everyone is a Grinch effectively. There's also another movie called The Grinch. Grinch is the Cat in the Hat, where the Cat in the Hat and the Grinch kind of versus each other.
Huh.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Number 12. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Season 1, Episode 4, The Tale of the Twisted Claw, 1990.
Couldn't pretty much all of the Are You Afraid of the Dark iterations be Halloween fodder? Because it's kind of the same way with Goosebumps. I'm sure there's a bunch of people who, if they can find Are You Afraid of the Dark on DVD or something, and I've looked and I can't find it anywhere, which annoys me, but I'm sure there's a bunch of people who like binge watch Goosebumps and or Are You Afraid of the Dark around Halloween because it makes sense.
Right. Moving on.
Yep.
It doesn't have the title here. I don't know why, but I looked it up. The Halloween That Almost Wasn't, 1979. It's a short horror thing. Judd Hirsch played Dracula, rallying all the monsters to stop Halloween from being canceled. Back in the '70s, TV movies were events, so Dracula doing Saturday Night Fever had a lot of eyeballs on it, especially with Hirsch fresh off the first season of Taxi.
This sounds interesting, if nothing else.
Yeah, I also have the cast list here. So Judd Hirsch, you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
All right. Mariette Hartley as Winnie the Witch.
Okay.
And Henry Gibson as Igor.
I'm sure that was funny.
Yeah. A couple other people I don't really recognize. Like I think I know them, but I've never really seen them, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this sounds like one I'd really be interested in looking into.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be quite a lot of talent behind this, and the concept sounds interesting, but the only thing that's in my brain is why would anyone try to cancel Halloween? And then I reminded myself, no, people actually literally have tried to do that before. I mean, how we just last week did an article basically still telling people not to celebrate Halloween because of morality. So yeah, why not?
Right. Sorry. Ugh. Mark Summers Mystery Magical Special, 1986. Sorry. As the host of Nickelodeon's Double Dare, Summers was the king of slime and goop. His Halloween special, filmed at the Magic Castle, co-starred then-child actors Jonathan Brandis and Shiri Appleby, plus John Astin, the original Gomez Adams. Kids would see this very special October in the early days of cable.
The ironic thing about Mark Summers and Double Dare is, as far as I remember, he was a massive germaphobe, much like Howie Mandel, and yet his job focused primarily on slime. I feel sort of bad for the guy. No wonder he basically fucked off and went to do Unwrapped on the Food Network instead, which is primarily where I know him from, is Unwrapped, because I actually saw that as a kid before I saw Double Dare reruns.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. Number 9, Elvira's Halloween Special, 1986. Elvira herself is the draw for this movie. The sexy, macabre comedian became a horror personality as a host of B movies and brought her sense of humor to MTV's scary programming with this special. Though never officially re-released, the special can be found in dark corners of the internet if you look hard enough.
I may just have to do that, because the idea that they never released an Elvira Halloween special is just wrong.
No, re-released, like
Oh, as in, okay.
yeah. So full disclosure, just because like I'm the young guy here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know who Elvira was for so long.
Guess, shock, horror.
Although I did find out about who she was. I found out who she was through a really interesting way. I think it's interesting, at least. Through one of my favorite shows that I honestly wish would come back, but I don't know what happened, like why it was canceled or not. I was on Sci-Fi when Sci-Fi still made some really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Face Off. Who remembers that? It's like movie makeup.
The old competition show with Glenn Hattrick and V Neal, I think, were
And
the two main judges on that show.
yeah, and Patrick Tatopoulos. Then there was a new guy brought in because Patrick was busy with other things like projects and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I think it was a Halloween special they did. I don't remember what season it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
was she a guest judge?
yes.
That makes sense.
Also,
I vaguely think I might remember that.
also the presenter for the challenge, I believe.
Yeah, I actually, as a kid, found out about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, from a parody of her on Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Because apparently, at least in one of the earlier episodes of Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Grim had a crush on his universe's equivalent to Elvira. And then later, when I figured out who Elvira was, it was like, oh, that's what Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy was parodying. All right. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah. Um, number 8, Paul Lynde, Halloween Special, 1976. What made it special? The variety show was another staple of 70s television. See the Star Wars Holiday Special. So comedian Paul Lynde led skits featuring Wicked Witch, Margaret Hamilton, Witchy Poo, Billy Hayes, Kiss, Florence Henderson, and the Osmonds. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. After this, I might really just need to lie down.
Yeah, it might be an even shorter show than we thought, folks.
I meant after the show, not Not after this.
Oh,
This. Oh, like I bundled up with my heater on so I could maybe like sweat it out.
hmm.
I don't know if that's. I don't know if it's really helping. It's making me kind of tired, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have a hard time getting to sleep tonight.
Yeah, probably not. Okay,
It's
so
probably a good thing because you've been on the wrong side of the sleep schedule for a while now.
I'm aware. Number 7, Bride of Boogity. Number 1987. Apparently, it has a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. If that means anything, probably not.
I I don't think so.
Alright, what made it special in the 80s? Disney made Sunday night family TV night with the Disney Sunday night movie, and this Halloween movie introduced the ghost of an entirely original haunted house. It was so popular that the network made a sequel, The Bride of Boogity, the next year.
hmm Again, more effort was paid back in the old days of quality of Disney Channel original programming.
I've never heard of this one, so I can't really
I,
contribute.
I've heard of Mr. Boogedy before, and I vaguely was aware that there was a sequel. I don't think I've ever actually watched Bride of Boogedy, but I do remember that a couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year, um, Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, um, who usually does Disney December every December, started doing the Disney Channel originals for that year's Disney December,
Okay.
and he reviewed both of the Boogie movies, I think.
Oh, fuck me. Okay. The Worst Witch, 1986. Fans of the book were excited to see the Worst Witch come to life with Frank, uh, Furza Balak, Tim Curry, Charlotte Rae, and Diana Rigg. In the film, Balak plays Mildred, a girl who has trouble casting a spell, and was especially fitting casting since Balak went on to star as a teen witch in The Craft.
I didn't realize it was the same actress. Yeah, I really didn't. I really didn't realize it was the same actress in The Worst Witch and in Craft. But damn. Um, but yeah, no, The Worst Witch is ironically the worst. Like it's enjoyable for the parts that Tim Curry is on screen and basically no other time. Which you can manage that just by putting Tim Curry in a movie. Because I mean, Tim Curry plus movie equals at least 10 points. Um, but everything else about that movie really, really doesn't work. And I think Netflix even recently did a remake of Worst Witch. I haven't watched it because I just didn't enjoy the first one. So I can't speak to whether it's better or not. But yeah, as campy and enjoyable as stuff like that can be, they I think really missed the mark on the Worst Witch. Just watch other Tim Curry stuff. You really, really honestly need to see Tim Curry. Hell, watch Legend as a Halloween movie. That'd be a pretty interesting choice. Where he was where he was totally not the devil.
Darkness.
Yes.
Number
Because for
5.
some reason we can't say the devil, even though he was red and had horns the entire time.
Number 5. Garfield's Halloween Adventure. Garfield in Disguise, 1985. Garfield
I
hates
mean, go ahead.
Garfield hates Mondays but loves Halloween because he can dress up and eat candy. And along with Charlie Brown's Family Halloween Special, make Garfield a memorable addition to the double bill, and it won an Emmy in 1986.
I mean, I'm sure it was good because the old Garfield cartoon was pretty good in general. Um, but I think I've only seen it once.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on.
Number 4, Mad Monster Party, 1967. Rankin Bass were most famous for the animated Christmas specials, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman. The Halloween show included Boris von Frankenstein, Boris von Frankenstein,
Hmm.
the werewolf. Oh, it was also apparently it was played by Boris Karloff.
That's just an automatic win. Anything with Boris Karloff playing a horror character, just auto win.
Yeah. The Werewolf, Dr. Jekyll, and Invisible Man, and is available on Blu-ray. I also believe there was a animated special of this that I had seen. I saw clips of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have anything to say because I didn't really. I tried looking for like the full thing, but YouTube and all.
Yeah, this was well before my time, but I'm gonna have to search this up soon because that just sounds cool.
Number 3, Toy Story of Terror, 2013.
It's similar to the Shrek thing in that I wish they would have. If you're gonna do this, then either commit to it whole hog or just don't bother.
I honestly
It's
don't remember this.
very safe.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember this one. So
I vaguely remember that it existed. I never sat down and watched it, but the clips of it that I've seen suggest to me that it's exactly the kind of family-friendly tripe that is gonna bore the shit out of kids and make adults annoyed that they had to watch it with their kids.
well,
And there's
I
yeah,
watched, and I don't remember anything of it. So
yeah, there's so much better Halloween content for kids. I mean, half of this list was better Disney Channel originals for kids. So yeah, trust your kids to have a little bit of spine, and instead of showing them this sort of the Shrek one, show them like Halloween Town or Don't Look Under the Bed or it wasn't on this list, but Can of Worms is another weird one that's good for Halloween, and also um like I mentioned earlier, there's a movie called Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire that's a Disney Channel original that you can find for free on Disney Plus, and it's got the actress who played the original Aunt Hilda on the '90s Melissa Joan Hart Sabrina show as the mom.
right. And when we get to the end, I'll pitch one because I don't think it's ever going to be on here, and it doesn't get the recognition I think it deserves.
Hmm.
I'll mention it later.
Yeah.
Um, Pixar favorites Woody and Buzz and the menagerie of animated toy friends turn up in a road trip thriller when Miss Potato Head goes missing at a roadside motel. Apparently, even toys can make ill-fitted accommodation decisions. Considered charming and engaging, critics agreed that family members of all ages and would enjoy the TV special, showing the voices of Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Yeah, well, who else is going to play those characters?
Well, yeah, and also generally speaking, when phrases like critics agree or for all ages show up, you know what you get is going to be overly saccharine crap. And again, there's so much better Halloween stuff that is actually for all ages and all families. That why not just show your kids Hocus Pocus? Like no kid is so sheltered that they can't handle Hocus Pocus or Don't Look Under the Bed or Can of Worms or any of the other ones,
Well, dude,
unless you
Goosebumps,
personally make them that sheltered.
yeah, Goosebumps, dude.
Yeah. Or if they're a little bit too young for Goosebumps, then Are You Afraid of the Dark works too. But
Honestly,
in
I've seen some stuff from Are You Scared of
Go
the Dark?
ahead.
I've seen some stuff from Are You Scared of the Dark? And honestly, I'd say Goosebumps than Are You Afraid of the Dark.
I think it's mostly interchangeable. But hell, given the fact that given the fact that horror standards have really changed over the years, you could honestly almost get away with showing your kids original series Twilight Zone, and it wouldn't scar them for life.
Or or some of like the classic slasher movies, you know.
I I probably wouldn't go. No, no. I mean,
I mean, like
it's
the staples, you know, like the first
yeah.
Halloween, the original third Friday the 13th. That one's a little iffy, I will say, but
Yeah. Or and again, if they going off of the fact that standards have really shifted over the last century or so, if you don't think they're ready for the Freddys and the Jasons and the Michael Myerses, show them the original Universal monster movies, because those aren't even scary half the time anymore. They're mostly just classic and camp.
I'd honestly say
And
it's more atmospheric than anything.
yeah, so if your kids are by some miracle too sheltered or too young for something like Goosebumps or the classic slasher movies or something like that, then show them Universal monster movies. Like there are ways to be reasonable with filtering stuff for your kids without sapping them of all their joy. Because here's the thing, parents of the world, heed this one phrase if you heed nothing else. You know how you get annoyed by having to watch saccharine bullshit with your kids? Well, most of the time, your kids also are equally as annoyed with having to watch saccharine bullshit. Because there's plenty of Halloween related content, or even not necessarily Halloween related content, but kid friendly, scary content that you can get away with.
Um,
Like there's no way you can't show them Courage the Cowardly Dog, for example. That's like the bare minimum if you can't show them anything
right.
else.
Yeah. You good?
Moving on though.
Okay. Number two, Simpsons season 6, episode 6, The Treehouse of Horror 5, 1994. Back when Simpsons was good.
I mean, most of the early Treehouse of Horrors is pretty good. My favorite is the fourth one with Flanders Devil, because it's awesome.
Right. Okay, so what made it special? The Simpsons has made its annual Halloween specials a viewing event. Critics agree Treehouse of Horrors 5 is the best one, featuring The Shining, Time and Punishment, and Nightmare Cafeteria.
Again, I would, for one thing, critics agree is never a good. It's really never a good sign anymore. But also, I admit that the other two segments in the fourth Treehouse of Horror aren't as good as The Devil and Homer Simpson, but the fourth one is almost worth watching just for The Devil and Homer Simpson. Um, but then again, you could basically watch all four or five of the first Treehouse of Horrors, and you'd get pretty good content. And again, talking to the more prudish parents out there for a second here, most you probably could get away with most of the stuff on the early Treehouse of Horror showing your kids today, and they wouldn't bat an eye because it's mostly just parodies and jokes. It's not even anything particularly graphic for the most part.
Don't.
But
Nah, I just said I wanted to stop you before you went on another tirade.
okay, next.
All right. Number one, It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, 1966. Cartoonist Charles Schulz turned the ordinary lives of elementary school children into magical adventures featuring daring anthropomorphized beagle Snoopy. In this perennial Halloween classic, Charlie Brown and Lucy and the kids enjoy the gifts of the season, making costumes, trick or treating, and having a party. While Linus and Sally pass the night in a pumpkin patch, awaiting the mythical Great Pumpkin. You know, I I barely remember this special. The only thing I really remember is that Robot Chicken's sketch parody of it that basically made it into a full-on horror movie.
Yeah. And I when this came up on the previous Halloween list we did this year, I made my opinions on it known. Sadly enough, most of the Peanuts holiday specials aren't really that worth watching. The Christmas one is too overly religious, and the Halloween one doesn't have anything to do with actual Halloween lore, really. So skip. And I know that makes me sound harsh, and it makes me seem like I just hate the Peanuts, which is not true. Although most of the time, you're better off with just the Peanuts when they're being the Peanuts. Skip the holiday stuff altogether, with the possible exception of the Thanksgiving one, which I think is their best, and the um Easter Beagle one, mostly because I haven't seen that and I don't know much about it, but I'm sure it's fine. But yeah, as far as the Christmas one, it's too religious, and as far as the Halloween one, it has the exact opposite problem. There's not enough lore in it. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why I like the Robot Chicken sketch one because it involved some sort of lore in a way.
Yeah. Anyway, moving right along here.
Yeah. So we're gonna end on this. I think this will be something Dawn talks about a lot more than me. Maybe.
Yeah, which will be useful because Brainstormer's drowning in his own nasal fluids.
Don't phrase it like that, man. And it's not really. Honestly, I think I'm about ready to pass out.
Well, we could just end it there if you want to.
I'll be fine. I'm just like I'm tired.
Oh, okay.
Right. So yeah, Dawn sent this to me. This is part one. We're gonna cover part two next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is from top 5 scary videos, top 5 scariest mythological gods in history. If you guys want to check these videos out yourself, as always, I have stuff in the description.
Yeah, the stuff we cover is always linked in the video description, folks.
Yeah.
So jack-o'-lanterns, I guess.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Over here at Top 5 Scary Videos, you know that we love ancient history. More specifically, we love the thematic intricacies of mythological texts that have since woven their way into everything from cooking to comic books to cave paintings, spanning over thousands of years of our shared culture. History teaches us many things, but in the allegorical cautionary tales that make up mythology, there are some
There's not really anything to comment on there, so jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, jack-o'-lanterns.
Downright terrifying characters that have committed some downright terrifying acts during their godly reign. So let's take a look, shall we? Hello, horror fans, and once again, welcome back to the Scary Channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host, Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 scariest mythological gods in history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
20 seconds thing. Jack-o'-lanterns.
What was it? For the curious amongst you, that clip from 1999's The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser, because, come on, we've got to give a shout out to our boy Imhotep, right? Although, sadly.
I mean, you're not wrong, although I don't think that the actual historical figure who was.
Oh wait, no, he's gonna mention that. He was literally mentioning that as I paused.
Okay, yeah, he's. Okay, jack-o'-lanterns.
How about for like people who don't know? Like, could you just kind of brief on Imhotep? Because you know,
the long and the short of it was Imhotep was an architect and physician for the early pharaohs of Egypt, or some of the early pharaohs of Egypt. He was basically the Merlin to Khufu's Arthur, basically, and he was said to be so knowledgeable and so powerful in magic that after his death, he essentially ascended to the ranks of godhood and became essentially a god of medicine. Um, there's no real way to verify that necessarily, but basically, he
I've
was
heard
to
that.
the ancient Egyptians what Merlin is to Arthurian legend,
Yeah,
more or less.
it's also like it's kind of, which is, it's kind of weird that he was made the big bad in the Mummy movies.
I'm 90% sure it's because he was the only like Egyptian historical figure that they could were aware of and could pronounce.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we were going based on like actual ancient Egyptian lore, a better candidate for the mummy probably would have been the disowned son of Khufu, whose name I believe was Jedefre, because allegedly, one of Khufu's sons killed him, and that's why he got disowned. Although we don't know whether that's actually true historically or whether that's just the propaganda that Khafre spread about his brother afterwards to convince people to disown him, basically.
Also, fun fact, folks: a lot of people that
Bless you. Twice. Three times, Jesus. Good goddamn. 4 sneezes in a row.
Yeah, give it another minute.
Damn.
5 or 4?
5.
Great.
Okay, you were saying.
Actually, I'm gonna be right back. I need to blow my nose again.
Okay. While we're waiting for him, I just want to correct myself because I think I might have screwed up something while I was explaining Imhotep. I believe he was the court physician and architect um for Seti the First, not Khufu, but I could be wrong. Just want to give myself that out because it occurred to me while we were waiting for him that I might have screwed that up. But behold, I have offered the possible correction. So, yay. My Egyptology record remains as unscathed as a new layman can possibly be. Yay. Because I believe Imhotep was actually the architect on the Step Pyramid, not one of the 3 in the Valley of the Kings that were, the more famous ones. Oh. Shit. Between brainstormers sneezing and my yawning, we might both just collapse into sleep before too long here. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, fuck. Yet again, with this yawning. Oh. Anyway. Not really sure what to
I'm back.
do with. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, sorry, I was blowing my nose, and also I was like making a drink that might help me.
Yay.
Um, yeah. Oh God. Oh, well, right. I was gonna say something. Um, Fun fact: a lot of like movies that depict a lot of like evil, so-called evil gods. Those guys actually aren't the bad guys most of the time in actual mythology. You know, like Hades or Anubis.
Hella. Yeah. The
Well,
the gods of the gods of death usually were not the same as the gods of evil. For example, if you just went based on what Hollywood said, you might think that Anubis was basically the equivalent of the devil in Egyptian mythology. But the closest equivalent to a devil in Egyptian mythology is probably
Set.
either Set or Apep. Set was the god of sandstorms and chaos, and he regularly found himself at cross purposes with his brother Osiris, and Apep was basically the ancient Egyptian equivalent of an eldritch being who regularly fought with the sun god Ra because for whatever reason Apep didn't want the sun to rise the next day.
Right.
So much so that when eclipses happened, they attributed it to Apep eating the sun.
Mm-hmm. Even Loki, like in actual mythology, isn't really that bad of a dude. One I remember.
Yeah, no, he's the what we would modern day refer to as a troll, basically. Um,
Yeah.
he's just in everything for the lulz.
Trickster.
He's basically lol key.
Yeah. Don't ever. Don't. Yeah, and yeah, it's just like, and I have a feeling like it's just like a gut thing with this video because I haven't watched it because I wanted to have like a fresh reaction to it.
hmm
But I feel like he's gonna bring up gods that are scary, sure, but are really like how I've always kind of interpreted death itself is really just, you know, blue collar workers that just punch in and punch out. You know that have punched in but haven't punched out yet, and just doing their job.
Hmm.
You know.
I mean, there's some of that, but there's also some like,
Right. I'm not
and this
aren't like
yeah, this is the other thing. A being can be scary and can occasionally do some morally questionable things without being full tilt, chaotic, cackling evil. Like, just because a god might do evil things to you doesn't mean that they are an evil being. It just means that you got on they got on their bad side one day, or in this
oh,
particular case.
I wonder where I've heard that from before.
Hmm.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Dalton.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah, let's check on it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Right, boy, Emotep, right? Although, sadly, he doesn't make this list because, as we all know, he wasn't actually a mythological deity. He was just a very, very clever man. Or was he? After all, maybe.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, again, Imhotep is a very weird case because he's not entirely mortal in like the Egyptian cosmology, but he's not full tilt a deity either. It's kind of like similar with the pharaohs in the sense that they were considered to be quasi divine, but they weren't considered gods or what we would call gods. Effectively, it's very similar to the Greek concept of apotheosis, the idea of a mortal being transcending and becoming a god. And Imhotep is one of the finer historical examples of when that probably would have happened. Because the idea was that he was so knowledgeable about so many different fields of study that he sort of he either, according to some stories, he discovered the process by which a mortal being may become a god, or he knew so much about so many different fields that he basically bribed the gods into making, forcefully ascending him into godhood. Or the gods were just really impressed with him and decided to grant him godhood post hoc. In either case, he's sort of in this weird gray area of being not a god but not entirely mortal either. I'm of the opinion that he probably figured out whatever process exists to turn a mortal being into a god and basically apothized himself. Apothesized, sorry. Ancient Greek is fucking difficult. Sorry, folks. Moving on. Whenever Brainstormer gets back from fucking blowing his nose for the 500th time. And now I'm starting to feel stuffy, so I don't know if it's a psychological thing or if it's just tonight's weather is being annoying for both of us, but yeah. This October has been very, very hard on a lot of different people, from what I know of. Not sure if that's my fault. I'm going to specify that I don't think I did it if it matters for anything. I can't say for sure I didn't do it, but I also don't think I did it. Anyway, waiting on things to come back. I would talk more about the weird divine but also not divine quality of Imhotep, but unless we're actually going to go on like a 2-hour lecture about like ancient Egyptian ideas of apotheosis, which probably isn't a good idea. That's about as much as I can normify it and like layman term it.
I did it to myself, by the way. Getting sick. Not intentionally, obviously, but
Uh-huh.
yeah. Note to self: take your fan out of the window the first week October happens.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Well, no, okay. It's just like the last couple of weeks. It's been really like kind of summer weather.
It's been unseasonably warm for us too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I recently just took it out a couple days, like I don't know, middle of the week or something, because like just it was getting cold, so I figured,
Yeah, I've still been sleeping with my fan turned on at night, so yeah.
ugh. Sorry, I'm just fuck. Okay. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Jack-o'-lantern.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Maybe we'll never know. Kicking off at number 5, the Morrigan. And may I add, this particular Celtic mythological deity is absolutely awesome in the heavy metal, death and destruction kind of sense, as well as being one of the most interesting figures in the culture of the British Isles. The Morrigan, which is thought to be derived from the Proto-Celtic as Mor Gain, roughly translating to Great Queen, Phantom Queen, or
Yeah, or and I know he's not about to say it, but Shadow Queen is another translation of her name.
Or
Bleeding.
was what he's gonna finish. So.
But yeah, a lot of people, yeah, there's a lot of gray area for the Morgan as far as, is she a single deity? Is she a triple goddess of like 3 different deities working together in unison? And
Well, I mean, to be fair, like the whole, I mean, I don't know much about this one, even though like I've looked into Celtic mythology a lot. Actually, no, please finish your thing because I feel like I'll say something stupid.
no, go ahead.
Well, no, like I said, I don't know much before, like the whole 3 goddess thing and all that. Again, to my understanding, I've always kind of assumed that it was just one goddess with many roles, and had it more or less and again, like different cultures that spout from just thing and all that.
That's always been my assumption as well. Is she just one deity with many mantles, many masks? There's some debate also in like the more neo-pagan-y sort of community, as to whether or not the Morgan and Mab are the same figure. I'd say no, just because I've spoken to people who work with both of them and they say they're separate beings. So I'm willing to go.
I think you and I have the same idea that the Fae are related to the Tuatha De Danann, which were like the original.
Yeah, the gods of the Celts, basically.
Yeah.
But they're not them. They're children, probably with land spirits or what the Romans would have called genus loci.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the cosmology we're probably going to end up using whenever we write the comic ideas that we have. But
yeah.
mum's the word on that for at least a few more years.
Yeah.
But keep yourselves posted, guys.
Yeah. Like to me, and like, I'm not trying to offend any god out there, to be fair. But to me, it always seems like the kind of really older gods,
Yeah.
seem to be the ones that have. Well, granted, this is because, like, back then there wasn't really a lot of written word, so to speak. It was more oral and different cultures and stuff and interpretations of things. But that's kind of the reason why so many gods and goddesses of the old days, of the more primal time for humanity, always had different faces, different guises, different themes and things.
Well, it's also on a practical level. There's a reason why different deities have different names. It's because it's it's hard to condense a primal force of the universe into a single entity, for one thing, and for another thing, um, names on a magical level in like occult terms bind you. Like if you have the name of a thing, you can exert force and control over it. So it's beneficial for a being as powerful as the Morrigan or Mab or whomever to have as many different names as possible. And in particular, we see this with Odin. He has like it's listed, I think, in several of the Old Norse sagas. Dude has like so many names and so many titles that it's ludicrous. Um, not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying as far as being with a fuck ton of names goes, I think Odin has almost everybody beat. Uh, the other thing is, in the old days, there really wasn't as much of a distinction between names and titles. So like, because basically the name of something was just their role or their function in a different language. Like with the ancient Greek dream gods, for example, the name Morpheus just means shaper in Greek. The name Oniros just means dream. Um, the name Hypnos literally translates to sleep, and so on. And much in the same way, when you give something a new title, the line between title and name is sort of skewed. Um, it also sort of works in reverse, whereby even if you don't know something's proper name, if you know enough about it to know what its titles are or would be, like what it functions as, you can turn a title into a name and vice versa. Um, and this is true even with like the Abrahamic or Judeo-Christian sort of mythos. Most of the names of angels, for example, aren't really supposed to be names as we would understand it now. They're functions. Like Michael means who is like unto God. Gabriel means strength of God. Uriel means light of God. Um, Raziel means secrets of God. Samael means sword of God, etc. Um, that's why most angel names end with El, because El was the Jewish informal for deity of any kind. El just means God. Um, it's also why in the English translation of the Bible, for some reason they take the term God and they capitalize it with a capital G. Also because in Jewish folklore you weren't actually allowed to say the name of God because it was considered rude, because again, names, mystically speaking, uh tie are bound to the people they're associated with, and therefore to speak the name of God is alleged to sort of siphon off the power of God in some way. Which is silly in some ways and not silly in others, but that's a different story. As far as the Morrigan though, the problem with ancient gods is that number one, like Brainstormer was saying, they're so primordial that they've existed for so long, they have so many different names, but it's also because different tribes would go to war with each other, the first thing you do if you won a war against somebody is basically make fun of their gods, either by demonizing them literally or by claiming that your god is stronger than their god. And if you're going through a religious conversion, like say a monotheistic one, cough cough, Roman conversion to Christianity, cough, it benefits you to ignore or forget as much about the old gods as you can, and only the people who find something in that story or something about that being worthwhile to keep track of are going to keep track of it. So a lot of the information we have on the Tuatha Dé Danann and the other Celtic gods is stuff we get secondhand from monks and scribes and things that, for whatever reason, even though they were Christian, found the gods of old to be interesting and therefore wrote shit down about them. I can't speak today.
Right.
Next.
Yeah.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Relating to Great Queen, Phantom Queen, or Queen of Phantoms. She is mainly associated with war and fate, especially with the foretelling of doom, death, and victory in battle. And through this role, she is often depicted as a crow. For those that were fated to die in battle, she would appear as a beautiful maiden beside a riverbank, washing the bloodstained clothes of those awaiting death. The Morrigan.
And again, this association with like war and death is one of the reasons why a lot of people can't seem to decide whether or not they think Mab and the Morrigan are two different beings or not, because darkness and shadows is very much something that Mab is also associated with, as well as war. But again, from just practical experience of people who've worked with both beings who've told me they're separate, I have to conclude they're separate. Though, I will admit that in some cases I have used the old Celtic name for the Morrigan, or the old Celtic designation of the Morrigan, Morg Hirogain, to refer to Mab, because Dark Queen does fit her. So, yeah, gray areas. Jack-o'-lanterns.
It's hard for us mere mortals to understand the workings of gods sometimes.
And then there's the fact that some beings aren't classified as gods and some are, and there's infinite numbers of gray areas.
Like the beings of the higher planes. Let's just forget that.
We're talking about beings that literally have existed longer than human beings have, and like probably remember what the Neanderthals were like.
Or even like saw stars born and shit.
Yeah, and or help make them, which
Yeah. Like it's
because I can imagine quite a few deities just like chilling with the other deities before the Big Bang is like, are we ever gonna actually like get this universe going? Yeah, okay. Snap fingers. Boom.
Yeah. Anyway. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, Jack-o'-lanterns.
Death. The Morrigan is also often described as a trio of individuals, in particular three sisters, who are oftentimes referred to as the three Morrigan. The Bad, the Maca, and the Naaman, representing each aspect of death, fate, and glory and victory. In later folklore, the Banshee was thought to be derivative of the Morrigan, and in the Welsh Arthurian legend, she was thought to be linked to the legendary Morgan Le Fay.
Okay, this I'm gonna have to quash because this is something that genuinely is verifiably not the case and genuinely does make me annoyed. If there is any connection at all between the Morrigan and Morgan Le Fay, it's because she was probably named after the Morrigan. You have to remember that this was at a time when there was still some schism as to whether you followed the new religion of Christianity or whether you followed the old religion of, the pre-established Celtic one. And it was very common, especially if you were a lord or duke or whatever, to name your children after deities so that their fate and their destiny could be overseen by that deity. So my guessing is whoever the IRL equivalent to Uther was probably just named his daughter after the Morrigan in honor of the Morrigan. And it just so happened that she became a very skilled sorceress. And or that the Morrigan oversaw Morgan's tutelage and made sure that she became a very powerful sorceress. But yeah, they're not the same being, and they never were. If there's any connection at all, it's probably because she was named after her. Deal with it. Jack-o'-lanterns. At least when he gets back from, once again, dealing with the nasal mutiny. Which I'm gonna have to... I have my own soon, probably. God damn it. That sounded a lot worse than it is, I think. Just my nose being annoying. And once again, sorry about the dare, folks. If you can't tell, I think we're both having a bit of an off night tonight.
I'm back. Sorry, I had to blow my nose again and stuff. It's just oh, it's got a hot rag here, so I'll drape that over my face. Maybe it'll help my sinuses.
Yay.
Yeah.
Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
In most respects, the Morrigan is terrifying, but she's also awesome. Coming in at number 4, Dionysus, who, fun fact, was Jim Morrison's favourite Greek mythological figure, probably because of all the wine, because, as we all know, the man could sink his fair share of carafes. Nevertheless, if you couldn't tell, Dionysus was the god of grape harvest, winemaking, and wine.
My only problem so far with this one is scary. Why? Like, not that the Greek gods weren't occasionally dicks according to mythology, but as far as I know, Dionysus is actually one of the more, like, chill ones as far as Greek mythology goes.
The dude is kind of a dick, party god and all.
Yeah, he's one of those. He's one of those deities that's a frat bro god, basically. Yeah, but
a lot of gods on the Mount Olympus, like the Olympians, are a lot of them are kind of assholes.
Well, I mean, yeah, like
I did specify a lot. I didn't mean all.
Yeah, but like honestly, you could just about put Poseidon here instead, and it would make more sense. Because he
hasn't gotten to his point yet. It was just more so he was given information for people who didn't know who Dionysus is.
Yeah, he's the Roman god of he's the Roman god of wine, food, poetry, yada yada yada. Especially yeah.
Well, I just like question how some people get these, like, so like I'm not doubting that there are gods that do this stuff. Obviously, it's just more so. I wonder how like how like people are able to talk about these gods, like come up, like quote unquote, come up, create these gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mhm. Yeah, but as far as especially the Greek pantheon goes, I wouldn't call Dionysus scary, although it is worth noting that in the ancient Greek conception of art and theater, there was a distinction held between Apollonian art, which was associated obviously with Apollo, and Dionysian art, and the main difference was um, Apollonian art was art that was meant to have like a rational point, whereas Dionysian art in the Greek conception was more about like emotional catharsis. And in fact, a lot of times um, they associated Apollo with like comedies and Dionysus with tragedies, um, because the plays that were associated with Dionysus were supposed to give you like an emotional breakdown. Like um, Apollonian art was supposed to make you think. Dionysian art was supposed to make you weep. So maybe that's partially why I guess you could consider Dionysus scary. Um, but then again, even then, um, it sort of makes me laugh that they associate the party god with emotional catharsis, because like there are definitely sad drunks. Don't get me wrong, but and I'm sure there have been times where if he's been drinking too much of whatever the Greek gods drink, he probably did occasionally get to the depressed drunk phase, but more often I would imagine he'd probably just be the party god, considering that his servants were satyrs who basically just wanted to screw everything and shit. So yeah.
Wait, are satyrs? That's how I've always pronounced them. Anyway, are they
Mhm.
like proto? Were they? Do you think they were like the inspiration for succubus and incubi, or incubi?
Uh, I think they're probably separate entities, but
Well, no. I mean,
the
I mean for like the Christian interpretation of an incubus.
oh yeah, they're not the only ones. There's sex spirits all over the place
No,
in
I know that.
mythology,
I get that.
but
I just like it's. I
one
mean,
of the one
uh,
of the inspirations for succubus and incubi probably were satyrs, yes,
yeah.
and it's also
Like,
probably why
look,
a lot of a lot of portrayals of the devil look like satyrs because
right. Okay. Look,
they
it's just because like I remember like seeing the depictions of succubus and incubi, and also like what you just said about satyrs, and like the look of them, and like a lot of the Christian interpretations seem to have taken
yeah,
on.
the main reason why a lot of iterations of the devil look like satyrs is because um when the Romans came through and were converting everyone, um, they saw um, a lot of people venerating satyrs, and whenever they when they asked why, it was because of things like fertility and sex and lust and all that shit. Which in the Christian moral framework, lust and fertility is bad. So there's that, and
Okay,
then
so
there's the fact of
this is a full sidebar here, but
mhm,
I think we can both agree that moral frameworks to a certain to the extreme that it is taken with like early Christianity
yeah,
was bad, right? However,
yeah,
I think I could see the point of what they were making is like
yeah. The idea of be constructive, don't let your passions run away with you. That much I can understand.
yeah,
It's why I don't necessarily disagree with the seven deadly sins idea. Like but in my opinion, and in most people, even back then's opinion, it was less that these things were themselves bad and more that the uncontrolled indulgence in them was bad. But
yeah,
in any case, the long and the short of it was um obviously Christians being monotheist, except for angels, but never mind. With Christians being monotheist, they had to, a lot of the early theologians had to figure out a way to explain all of these other deities all over the place. And so a lot of them associated with demons. And in particular, they associated the lower gods with demons because essentially those were the deities that most people had more connection to because they were the ones they were more likely to actually see. It's like, you're not gonna just randomly bump into Zeus on the street, but you might randomly bump into a satyr or something. So when they saw the depictions of satyrs, they essentially saw satyrs and everything they were associated with, and it became sort of this perfect iconography for what the devil is, especially because satyrs or satyrs, when you look at them, they sort of look somewhat unnatural. So given that they wanted to make the devil look as unnatural as possible, they took the satyr imagery, combined it with a little bit of the serpent imagery from the actual Bible, and boom, you have the devil. Part satyr, part serpent, basically. And it's mostly bullshit because the devil was an angel or a serpent. So why the fuck do satyrs get slandered like that? But who knows?
Right.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, one sec. Okay, yeah, jack-o'-lanterns.
Dionysus was the god of grape harvest, winemaking and wine, of fertility, religious ecstasy, and theatre. Doesn't sound scary at all, right? Well, in actual fact, Dionysus was an incredibly horrifying deity, mainly due to his propensity to incite ritual madness and the fact that he had more cults worshipping him than you could shake an olive branch at. Now,
yeah, again, the idea of the Dionysian art form was about emotional catharsis. So it was essentially, let's go mad in the name of this god, emotionally. But even then, in particular Greek standards, dude, he's not as scary as he's not as scary as some of the other gods. I mean, for one thing, there are several examples of people actually experiencing madness, or what they called madness, and praying to Dionysus in order to fix it, because the idea was not only could he give you like ecstasy and religious madness, but he could also cure or at least restrain unproductive madness. Compare that to Hera, who famously gave madness to Heracles in the original story, and she didn't give a fuck about helping him. She just made him go mad because she was pissed at him. So even as far as like madness creating deities go, I'd rather deal with Dionysus's "I've drunk too much and now I'm going insane" form of madness than the spiteful woman scorned, "You pissed me off, so now I'm taking your sanity away from you" variety of madness. Anyway, jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, jack-o'-lanterns. Sorry.
Now, don't get me wrong, Dionysus served an incredibly important role in the development of Greek culture and theatre, and for the most part, his ritualistic worship served as the main driving force of Greek enlightenment and spiritual liberation. However, it was the flip side of that coin that gave the rest of his worship a pretty bad name. Dionysus is often depicted as a dying and rising god, and during one particular
Yeah, I don't care about the name they were given for themselves, because that's mostly just other people looking at what Dionysian cultists do and going, ew, that doesn't make sense within my framework. It's the exact same reason why I don't really trust Christian theologians when they talk about pagan deities, because it's like you were literally trying to demonize this character or this being, so why the fuck should I trust what you have to say about it?
Right. Um, jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Encounter with the Atlas Titans, his throat was slit, he was skinned alive, and his flesh roasted and eaten for dinner. This led to a number of his female-focused cults adapting the ritualistic sacrifice of tearing the centers to pieces with their bare hands, mimicking the death of Dionysus, and often resulting in cannibalism. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if that was the intended result.
Again, citation needed, especially because for all of their faults, the one thing that Greek gods hated with a passion, according to the mythos, is cannibalism, because Kronos ate them.
Well, ate
So,
three.
huh?
Ate the big three.
Well, he ate all 12 of them, according to the original story. But
To be
yeah,
fair,
the original.
Pantheon is super weird about like relations.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, but the Greek equivalent of the deluge story is when Zeus saw some humans engaging in cannibalism and decided, nope, you can all just fucking drown now because you engaged in the one thing that I told you not to do. So either this is Christian theologians making things up post hoc and you just cited them, or you just you weren't paying attention, because again, the one prohibition that the Greek gods definitely were against was cannibalism. So I'm going to have to press X to doubt on that, on the historical veracity of that, actually. Not because crazy bitches don't exist, but because I imagine that if Greek cultists decided to rip some people to shreds and eat them, the other gods, even if Dionysus didn't care, the other gods would have certainly gone all lightning and tempests on them. Moving on. Jack-o'-lanterns.
sorry. Okay.
Result. Swinging at number 3, Kali. I mean, you kind of only need to take one look at Kali and you'll realise how absolutely terrifying she actually is. Kali, also known as Kalika or Shama, is the Hindu goddess of time, creation, destruction, and power. And for the most part, she is perceived as the kindest and most loving of all the Hindu deities, and is regarded by...
Yeah, Kali's cool.
Yeah, I need to look more into Hindu mythology, to be fair. I do look into a lot of mythologies, honestly.
Yeah, it's not my strongest area either, to be honest with you, and I do need to fix that at some point.
The only depictions I've seen of Kali are supernatural, which I don't think was probably the best representation for a lot of gods.
Yeah, they went the literal demonization route. Although of all of them, Kali got off the best.
Yeah, and American Gods, Kali.
Yeah.
Which I think was really cool. I was under the regard, like, you know, the destruction and stuff, sure, because I remember seeing artistic depictions of her.
Yeah, she has like weapons in 8 of her arms and then healing stuff in the other 8.
Well, I was under the impression that she was also a war goddess as well. Which
Yeah.
I guess destruction is war is under
Yeah.
destruction, so.
Yeah, so.
Isn't she also regarded as Kali the Destroyer? Or Kali the Destroyer?
Yes, that is one of her titles, but also the Hindu conception of destruction is sort of a balance of destruction and creation thing. So
Hinduism, I believe there is, you know, the obviously like reincarnation and stuff. So
yeah, and Kali is equally responsible in the Hindu pantheon for destruction as she is creation. She's simultaneously Kali the Destroyer and Kali the Nurturer, or the Nurturing Mother. Again, I can definitely see if you got Kali on a bad day, I can see why she would be scary to you, but there is other sides to her, and
Well,
and again,
that can be said
I
about
still,
God.
yeah, just about. I still do think though that she got off the best in the supernatural episode Hammer of the Gods, because her there are billions of us and we were here first speech in regards to, when she was telling Gabriel off, basically telling the entire Abrahamic pantheon off by proxy. I really enjoyed that, and I also enjoyed the "if anyone gets to end this world, it's me" part, because even though historically, I think if we're going by historical importance or relevance, Tiamat, the Sumerian deity, would probably have first dibs. I can get on board with Kali just being like, nope, if anyone's destroying this, it's me, so fuck off. And it does sort of fit her of I want to be the one to destroy this so nobody else can. Or that sort of fits her. Anyway, jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah.
Devotees as the mother of the whole universe. She has an absolutely massive variety of forms, often appearing as a benevolent cloaked mother that protects her devotees and children from various mishaps and misfortunes. But because of this interpretation of Kali being a fierce protector of her children, it's kind of led to another pretty terrifying physical depiction, mainly in the form of her eternally clutching a severed head, which...
Yeah, I again, I understand why that's scary, but it's at the same time, I think you might, it's not that it's not there, it's just that, I'd rather you focused on deities that were wholesale scary instead of just scary in one aspect. Because there are plenty out there that are pretty much scary in every form you can find them in. But anyway, jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Head, which signifies the human ego being slain by divine knowledge, as well as the fact she often wears a skirt made of human arms and a garland of more human heads adorned happily around her neck. Kali is pretty much always shown with fiery red eyes, intoxicated by the absolution of rage, and is often shown standing atop of Shiva himself.
Yeah, don't piss off Kali, ladies and gentlemen.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Clutching a multitude of blood-soaked swords in her numerous arms, asserting her complete and utter dominance over him and everything else in the universe. If you haven't figured out by now, it would not be wise to piss off Kali. Also, she travelled around on her pet lion. So yeah, you've been warned. Next up at number 2, Ishtar, also known as Inanna.
Yeah, ancient, I believe Canaanite goddess of the sky.
Well, before we get into that, because again, I had paused it before. Specifically. Yeah, nothing really to say about Kali. Don't really. I took the reins on that one. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Okay.
2, Ishtar, also known as Inanna. Ishtar is a fertility goddess of love and war, originally worshipped in ancient Mesopotamia and Sumer before gaining prevalence in Acadia, Babylon, and Assyria, where she became their most beloved god, surpassing even their progenitor god, Ashur. It is often thought that Ishtar later influenced the Phoenician goddess Astarte, and thus later influenced the development of the Greek goddess Aphrodite, albeit...
Okay, that I can neither confirm nor deny. I suspect not, but never mind. But the interesting thing is, in the pagan origins of Judaism, because of course before they became monotheists, they were polytheists just like everybody else. It was actually thought that Inanna or Ashur was the wife of the sky god El, which of course is a precursor to the Abrahamic god. So, in addition to basically shitting on his entire pantheon, the god of the Hebrews also kind of ignored his wife, except in one case in the Bible we actually hear him reference his bargain with the earth, which implies that somewhere Inanna or Ashur is still the earth goddess. So it's very possible that in a more honest form of Christianity, there would be a mother goddess involved as well, not just a sky father character. Anyway, jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. What's that? Yep, jack-o'-lanterns.
Much more watered down version.
Because let's not beat about the bush. Ishtar was super messed up. They say there are two Eternals in creation, sex and death, and Ishtar encapsulated both of them. Whereas she was the goddess of love, she's also the goddess of war and chaos, so much so that in ancient Mesopotamia, the art of battle itself was...
I don't really have anything to say at this part. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Often referred to as the dance of Inanna. As Ishtar's mythos developed across ancient civilization, her depiction of death and violence became much more prevalent, and she was gradually referenced as the progenitor of genocide, ultra-violence, cult-like worship of death, and the ritualistic sacrifice of children in her name. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Ishtar was the major antagonist in tempting Gilgamesh to submit.
I once again press X to doubt that there was ever child sacrifice for her. Because again, most of the stories of pre-Christian cultures sacrificing children or people is post hoc propaganda made up to make the pagans and the polytheists look more barbaric than they actually were.
Although I don't doubt that there were sacrifices in some, like the early.
Yeah, there were sacrifices to most deities all the time, although usually it took the form of livestock rather than people.
Although I'm also sure, because again of the culture that it happened in, that the people who were being sacrificed were willing, like fully knew, because they grew up in that kind of culture and stuff.
Yeah, they it was even in the Mayan culture, which is the only one where we definitely know they did. The role of sacrifice was considered to be a position of like honor, and you were sacrificed in order to nourish the god usually, or you sacrificed your enemies when you conquered somebody in war, but in a lot of cases the position of sacrifice was considered a way of honoring a person, which is still fucked up, don't get me wrong. It's not okay, and I'm glad it stopped, but let's not act like these people didn't have their own internally consistent justification for doing shit. They weren't just killing to kill, they were killing because their metaphysics required it. Moving forward, jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. Jack-o'-lantern.
To become her lover, which he refuses, and in turn Ishtar threatens to break into hell itself and unleash an entire army of the dead to feast upon the world. Yeah, Ishtar is not playing any games at all. And finally, our number one spot, Zeus. I'm going to preface this point with one simple statement. Zeus.
I mean, he definitely deserves to be on the list, although I would have given the slot that you gave to Dionysus to him.
That was 4, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Zeus is massively screwed up and according to the mythology, but he's not the most screwed up on this. And if I'm being entirely honest, the Morgan probably deserves the #1 spot. But that might just be me.
Again, I can.
Or Kali. I could see that too.
Kali, maybe Morgan. I'm. I don't know. I'd have to do more research. I'm personally, like, from what I've gathered, again, she's more or less just doing her job.
I'm about 50-50 on that.
Yeah, like, again, I'd have to do more research on the Morgan to have a proper opinion, but like general thought, I don't think she's like. Again, to me, scary more implies legit, like legit doing the thing.
Yeah, deliberate threat rather than anything else.
Yeah, than just presence of it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, don't get on the wrong side of the Morgan by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, in general with the Morgan, like what her kind of position is and what she does.
Mhm.
It's to me, it just seems like she's just doing her job.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
But yeah, Jack-o'-lanterns.
I mean, if you have something to say, please say it.
No, I just the order seems a little weird here. Is all.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. Granted, it is like one of those top 5 videos. The top
Yeah.
5 things. Those are always weird. You never really seem to have like a.
Yeah, the rationale for why certain things are ranked above other things is very minimal, but as screwed up as Zeus is, according to mythology, wouldn't put him above Kali, wouldn't put him above the Morgan. Probably would put him on the list though, unlike Dionysus, who I'm fully in the camp of he probably doesn't deserve to be here. Like, maybe if you were doing a top 10, maybe, but like you're doing a top 5, so you really should ditch these questionable ones. They shouldn't even make the top 5. Anyway, Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely.
Statement. Zeus is messed up, man, and it kind of comes with the territory when you take a look at this guy's origin and the fact that his Titan/father Cronus ate all of his children alive after chopping off his own father's genitalia and throwing it in the ocean after fearing that the same thing would happen to him. Yeah. The exception being Zeus himself, who was hidden in a cave by his mother and replaced with a rock.
I'm fairly certain there's some allegorizing going on there, but never mind. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yep.
Who then broke all of his siblings out by slashing open his Titan father's stomach, freeing them to reign back across the planet and becoming the king of the gods at Mount Olympus that we all know today. Also, despite the fact that Zeus pretty much roamed around for the rest of existence, fornicating with everything that moved, his own sisters/wives included, he was also just straight up out of order when it came to humanity.
Yeah, you could write entire, like, psychological manuals just based on Zeus and Hera's problems. I mean, she was several shades to the fucking wind too, but after dealing with Zeus for millions of years, God only knows how crazy she was eventually driven. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
In the legend of Prometheus, the demigod took one look at humanity down below and thought, those guys look pretty cold, let's give them some fire. And what was Zeus's response? He was so mad that he chained Prometheus to a rock where an eagle would swoop down every day to gorge at his liver, which would then later regenerate for eternity. Also, in the whole Pandora's box incident, it was completely Zeus's fault, although he never gets the blame.
The one thing I have a problem with here is Prometheus is a Titan, and is older than Zeus by a bit, according to the mythos. He is not a demigod, he is a Titan.
Although a demigod Prometheus.
I don't.
I mean, nothing really would have changed, but
Right, but it's still it's one of those. We have older versions of the story, and I don't know what version of the story he's citing, but in most of the older versions of the story, Prometheus is a Titan, not a demigod. And the weird thing about him possibly being a demigod in this interpretation is we actually have pretty solid genealogies for most of the demigods. In Greek mythology, and we don't have a genealogy for whichever demigod is supposed to have been Prometheus. So even if you wanted to believe in the newer version, it's incomplete. So yeah, Prometheus is a Titan. The only reason he's still around after the other Titans have gotten the boot is because he sided with Zeus in the fight. Which I guess you can chalk that up to planning, which makes sense because Prometheus' name literally translates to forethought. Which probably should have served him a little bit better when the box thing happened. He probably should have just taken the box with him so that Pandora couldn't have opened it while he wasn't looking. Oops. Anyway, Jack-o'-lanterns.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jack-o'-lantern.
Zeus's fault, although he never gets the blame. He himself blessed Pandora with insatiable curiosity to beguile humanity, and then gave her a box, and then told her to never open that box. He knew exactly what would happen, and everyone blamed Pandora.
Told you messed up. By the way, horror fans, our list of the top 5 scariest mythological gods in history. Why don't you let us know your thoughts as well as any choice picks down in the comment section below.
That was the end of that video.
Yep, and we're both barely keeping it together here, guys, so we're gonna have to end this fairly early.
Yeah. No,
Outro time.
Zeus is fucked, and kind of fuck him.
Yeah, there's part of me that almost wants to try and summon him and just ask what the fuck was all that shit about, but honestly, I don't like the things that Zeus is supposed to like have dominion over aren't things that I really have any need for, so I don't foresee any reason to call up the guy even when I do get better at summoning a vocation. Might actually not mind having a drink with Dionysus once, though. That'd be cool.
So yeah, with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
unless you are a Greek god, because at that point you've been doing too much fucking,